Good.
Ping.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
And good. Thank you all for the Mazel Tov wishes. And look forward to lots of simchas.
Amen.
Okay. So Parshat Bshalach is actually a very fascinating parsha.
What does it mean?
Bshalach means sent.
Oh,
Okay? And whereas we have Yitziat Mitzrayim, the exodus from Egypt, part and parcel of that exodus from Egypt is the splitting of the sea, and I would say the focal point of our parsha is the Az Yashir, is the song that was sang by Moshe leading the men, and then Miriam leading the women after the splitting of the sea. Okay? And we view this as two parts of a series. And that is why Pesach has the first days of Pesach, in Israel the first day, and the last days or last day of Pesach, which are Chag, which are Yom Tov, I should say, and the in-between days are Chol HaMoed. They are the more regular days of the holiday. Okay, and driving, etc. is all permitted, right? It's not a Yom Tov, it's Chol HaMoed. And the first day is the time of the exodus from Mitzrayim, and the second day or days, the seventh and eighth days of Pesach, is the time of Kriyat Yam Suf, of the splitting of the sea. And it was after the splitting of the sea that we sang our Shira. And a question that I'd like to investigate today is, why didn't we sing Shira when we left Egypt? Shira's song. Why didn't we sing this song of praise? We left Egypt. We were enslaved there for 210 years. Miraculous plague after plague after plague after plague, 10 plagues. And we're out. Right? That should be the time to sing our Shira.
not safe yet.
Okay, so good. Okay, so let's take a look at the very first pasuk. Okay? Yochav, you want to read that for us?
Okay, ויהי בשלח פרעה את העם, ולא נתן לו אלוקים דרך ארץ פלישתים כי קרוב הוא, כי אמר אלוקים כן ינחם העם, ובראותם מלחמה ושבו מצרימה. להמשיך?
Yeah, עוד אחד.
ויסב אלוקים את העם בדרך המדבר ים סוף, וחמושים עלו בני ישראל מארץ מצרים.
Beautiful. In English. Tara, do you want to take it first in English?
It happened when Pharaoh sent out the people that God did not lead them by the way of the land of the Philistines because it was near. For God said, perhaps the people will reconsider when they see a war and they will return to Egypt.
One more.
So God turned the people toward the way of the wilderness to the Sea of Reeds. The children of Israel were armed when they went up from Egypt.
Okay. Now the Gemara says an interesting thing. The Gemara says that whenever we have the word Vayihi, Eino Ella Lashon Tsa'ar. It is a term that connotes tsar, difficulty, sadness. Right? Now we would think this is a cause of celebration.
What is Vayhi?
Vayihi means and it was. But they say it connotes that there is this tragic component to it. Actually, they say Vai, hi, right? Which we loosely translated as whoa, ho, or boo hoo, right? Vayihi, Vai, hi.
Also in Purim, no, in the Megillah.
Yeah. Well, yes. Vayihi v'mei Achashverosh. Good. That actually is the Gemara Megillah that discusses this, amongst other places, I'm sure. But what comes to mind is the Gemara Megillah discusses this.
Megillah can-
Yeah. So what is the sadness here? Let's say this is the Exodus from Egypt. This is the start of the nation. This is incredible. This is God coming down, peeling back the layers of obfuscation of the creation and revealing God in all of His glory and all of His power. What is Vayihi? What is the sadness? What's the tragic note that is echoing in this pasuk?
That the Egyptians are going to chase them.
Okay, but that hasn't happened yet.
It's a change in life.
But
It's
it's,
a huge, I remember when we were living in Russia, I was exalted, but I was
That's interesting. That's a beautiful shot, Rachel.
what did you say?
I mean, it's a change in life. It's a
Right?
it's a
She
huge
said when she
change.
left Russia,
Ah.
she was exultant, but you are leaving things behind.
You're going away from what you're used
Yeah,
To-
yeah. I
Tell me about
hear
it.
that. You know, when the Jews who left alive, when they left Auschwitz, they left Buchenwald, right? If there was any sadness, it's of the people they were leaving behind, right? That could also actually over here also there were many people that were left behind, right? The Chamushim was translated as armed, but also Rashi brings that Chamushim also means a certain percentage left Egypt,
Hamashim.
and yeah. And the other died in Egypt because they weren't ready for and weren't angling for the redemption. Interesting. So Yafi, you want to say because Paro is still going to come after them, right? Rachel, you're saying that there's always a tinge when you're leaving, even if you're exulting as you're leaving, that there's a tinge for that which was left behind.
Maybe because they were slaves for so long, it's hard for them to leave it behind. Not the people, but them themselves as slaves.
Okay,
And
yes.
They don't know where they're going.
Exactly.
It's the
Okay.
whole thing of being,
Okay.
becoming a nation and you know.
The great unknown ahead, which probably also what you were feeling
Exactly.
when you were feeling, right? It was great to leave, but what's up ahead of us?
Exactly.
There are those that explain Vayihi, and this actually dovetails with what a lot of you are saying. Bshalach Paro et ha'am.
because
Oh, what was the tragedy over here? That Paro was the one who was sending the people.
so he had control.
Meaning that in the eyes of Paro, certainly evidence, well, Yafi said he's going to chase again soon. In the eyes of Paro, well, I decided to send, and therefore I could decide to rescind my send and to bring them back.
Yeah, that's what
Right?
Yeah.
I'm the one who's calling the shots over here. It's my decision. Bshalach Paro. And we'll even say that in the eyes of Bnei Yisrael, in the eyes of the children of Israel, also it was, Paro agreed to send us. Finally, after that 10th Makkah, after that 10th plague, Paro decided to send us. And that is Vayihi, right? There is a bit of this tragedy.
Because it wasn't his decision.
Because it wasn't his decision, but we had not yet fully internalized and clearly perceived the events and how God operates in this world. And that was Vayihi, to the point that God couldn't bring them in a direct path, Derech Eretz Plishtim, because lest they'll see war, and what will they want to do?
Go back.
They'll want to return. Okay, and they'll want to,
No, that one. I'll do it. You continue.
and they'll want to return to Egypt, right? They'll want to return to Egypt. Now that's sad. That's sad if we're still at this point. If we are still at this point, that it's Bshalach Paro, Paro's the one that sent us, and if there will be war, we'll say, let's go back to Egypt.
And it happened.
I'm sorry?
It did happen. That
They
They
did
were-
want
They,
to
we,
come back.
throughout the midbar, correct.
Yeah.
We did complain.
Amen.
No,
We did
continuing this parasha, it's
Yes,
here.
yes,
It's right
yes.
here.
So is it a lack of communication between like Hashem instructing Moshe to instruct the people as to what really took place?
So, okay, good. Good, Cheryl. I don't know if it's a lack of communication or it's a lack of fully comprehending and integrating that into us, right? So we start off with the question, why did we not sing Shira right away, right? And why did we sing our song of praise right when we left Egypt? Why did we wait until after the splitting of the sea? And we've already touched upon certain approaches to this. On one level, some of you said right away that we were still feeling in danger, right? So we were not yet feeling safe. And in fact, Paro came and chased us afterwards. So in fact, we were not yet fully safe. We didn't feel fully safe. We were not yet fully safe. Therefore, it was not yet the time to sing the Shira. But also, as we're going to explain further, as we're going to see, that there was a whole new spiritual point that we needed to reach before we could sing Shira. Shira, right, which happens to be the name of the bat mitzvah girl for this Shabbos. Sunny and Brana, we look forward to seeing you, right? So Shira means a song, and a song, almost by definition, has a certain symmetry to it, right? A song has to have a certain pattern to it, right? And the different parts come together to create that Shira. And before we could sing this Shira, there needed to be a certain symmetry, a certain completeness, let me say, that we recognized. Let's jump up just a little bit. Okay? We start to travel back. Okay? Paro starts to come after us. And, well, let's go to 368. The top pasuk there, the first two psukim. Someone take that for us in Hebrew.
וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל וישובו ויחנו לפני פי החירות, בין מגדול ובין הים, לפני בעל צפון, ניחכו תחנו על הים.
ואמר
ואמר
פרעה.
פרעה לבני ישראל, נבוכים הם בארץ, סגר עליהם המדבר.
Good. Let's take that in English now. Cheryl, you have that?
Where are we?
369.
Hashem spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and let them turn back and encamp before
Pi hachirot.
בחירות.
between Migdal and the sea. Before Baal Zephon, you shall encamp opposite it by the sea."
So Hashem tells us, turn back. Right? Almost, let's confront your fears. Start to travel back towards Egypt. What was the result? And, right, you shall encamp across from Baal Zephon. Baal Zephon was the idolatry, one of the idolatries of Egypt, that had been destroyed. And that was the idolatry of gold and silver, of wealth. Right? So this could plant in the minds of the Egyptians, oh, that God finally has had a resurgence. Our God of Baal Zephon, it's pulling them back because they had the audacity to take our gold and our silver. Right? And therefore Paro will say, continue Cheryl, number 3, Pharaoh will say,
of the children of Israel, they are imprisoned in the land, the wilderness has locked them in.
go a little further, I shall strengthen
The heart of Pharaoh, and he will pursue them, and I will be glorified through Pharaoh and his entire army. And Egypt will know that I am Hashem. And so they did.
Just parenthetically, very interesting. The Pasuk verse said, Pasuk Gimel said, Paro said to Bnei Yisrael, Libnei Yisrael, right? So it's translated normally as, we'll say, about the children of Israel. There are those that say that there were some Jews who remained, Datan and Aviram, they remained behind. They weren't so quick to leave. And Paro said to Bnei Yisrael, to those Jews who had remained over there. But what's happening here is we're moving back, and Paro starts to come after us. Then what happens? Right? Let's go to page 371. Let's take a string of that in English. Right? Someone take that in English? Chai Rivka, Pharaoh approached.
Pharaoh approached the children of Israel. And the children of Israel raised their eyes, and behold, Egypt was journeying after them, and they were very frightened. The children of Israel cried out to Hashem. They said to Moses, were there no graves in Egypt that you took us to die in the wilderness? What is this that you have done to us to take us out of Egypt? Is not the statement that we made to you in Egypt saying, let us be, and we will save Egypt? For it is better that you should serve Egypt than we should die in the wilderness.
Good. Okay, Moses said to the people, Al Tira, do not fear. Stand fast and see the salvation of Hashem. He will perform for you today. For as you have seen Egypt today, you shall not see them ever again. Hashem will make more war for you, and you shall remain silent. Hashem said to Moses, why do you cry out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and let them journey forth. And you lift up your staff, stretch out your arm over the sea, split it, and they shall come in the midst of the sea on dry land, and Egypt will come after them. And I'll be glorified through Pharaoh and the entire army. Very strange. Hashem said to Moses, why do you cry out to me? Lama titzak elai. What's a Jew supposed to do? Right? When we're, right? To cry out to Hashem. Shivchi kamayim libech. Nochach b'nei Hashem. We discussed last Tuesday night. We started our series on davening, continuing tonight. Part of next Tuesday I will not be here. Okay, I have a mazel tov. My son Shmuel Mayan had a baby, so I'll be in New York for the bris, and I'll be there for a few days. It's a boy. Yes, yes. Okay, but davening is shivchi kamayim libech, pour out like water your heart. Right? What else should they do? Right? And there's a very, very interesting chazal, sages, statement of the sages that say, kasha Kekriyat Yamsuf. We say, Kasha zivugo shel adam kekriyat Yamsuf. We say, actually, making a shidduch, pairing together two people, is as difficult as kriyat Yamsuf. Without getting into the pairing of two together, kriyat Yamsuf is said to be something that is kasher, that is difficult.
Splitting with the sea?
Yes. Now, I mean, for God, right? Obviously, nothing is difficult. Right? You know, when God rested on the seventh day, He wasn't tired. He didn't rest on the seventh day. Resting means He stopped creating. Right? That's simply what it means. God, lo yigav lo yi'af, I believe the pasuk says. He doesn't get wearied. He doesn't get tired. Right? God is nothing is hard for Him. Right? So if we're saying that it was kasher, that it was difficult, it meant that according to the normal, I don't want to say rules, but the normal parameters, the splitting of the sea almost didn't make sense. Meaning that we were not truly at the level, at the madrega, at the height, at the spiritual level, to have fully deserved this whole exodus from Egypt and that which is following. So it was difficult in that God is going against the normal parameters that he of course sets. So he makes the game, he sets the rules, but it was kasher because it was going against the normal parameters of deserving something and thereby receiving it. And we were overdrawing our account over here. And therefore Hashem said, Ma titzak elai, why do you cry out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and let them journey forth. Now let's go back 1 second here. The children of Israel, verse 10, raised their eyes and behold, Mitzrayim nosea acharehem. Egypt was journeying after them. That's not a little strange? Was Egypt journeying after them?
Egyptian people.
Egyptians, Mitzrayim, Paro, Pharaoh. What do you mean Egypt was journeying after them?
Still in them.
There was this essence of Egypt that was still coming after us. And this was the Vayihi. This also has to do with why it was Vayihi, why it was so tragic. Bshalach Paro. Now, if we were to identify, looking back at all the plagues, if we were to identify what is this false worldview personified or countrified by Egypt, what was their false worldview that they kept tripping on?
The Sira Basar.
I'm sorry?
Sira Basar.
No. What was the Egyptian? Where were they off?
Is it the polytheism thing?
Polytheism, okay, but let's take it a little step further. Polytheism, yes, but let's take that a step further. Yes, Janet?
That they could interact and manipulate those gods.
Okay. We are somewhat, if not fully, we're somewhat in control, right? Right? We can decide exactly how, exactly when, exactly if, right? I'm going to send the people. I'm not going to send the people. I'll send the people. I'm not going to send the people. Oh, I'll let you go for a few days. Mi v'mi ha'olchim. But who's going to go? Right? Moshe says, old, young. No. That's not what Paro, agreed to. Only the men can go. Another makkah, another plague comes. All right. Right? The men and the children and the women, right? But not the flock. Right? There is this constant sense, false sense, that I'm in control. I'll decide.
But it also exists on the other side. Bnei Israel
That's
is
the
in
problem.
That's
the problem.
situation. They are not fully.
That's the Mitzrayim nosea acharehem. The sages put it very, very poetically. It was the Sar Shel Mitzrayim. They saw the Egyptian Sar, ministering angel, coming after them. But the Sar, the officer of a nation, is that essence of the nation. And we had inculcated that view of Mitzrayim. That God, yes, God does a lot and he moves things about in the 10 plagues, but we still play a role. It's not all God's control. It's not all. It's not the ein od milvado, right? There is the role that we play that doesn't just affect what we do, but affects the outcome, right? As we discussed before, we have absolute free will over what we do. We don't have free will over the outcome, over the results of what will happen. That God does weave whatever we do into his master plan to make it come about. So, right, we still have this Egypt in us. Let me go a little bit, okay? We still have this Egypt in us. So now we're calling out to Hashem. Hashem says, why do you cry out to me? So two factors. A, you've overdrawn your account already. You're not fully deserving of this. Another miracle is not going to happen just like this. What do you have to do? Speak to the children of Israel and let them journey forth. Meaning,
plunge into the water.
They must plunge into the water. They must realize that if God tells them to go into the water,
Have to faith.
they go into the water. But it's dangerous. No. This is God telling you to do this. If going into the water is dangerous, we can't, what are we going to do? What can we do? No, then that is the Egypt that is still traveling behind us and with us. That's the Vayihi, the woe, the tragic note of Bshalach Paro et ha'am, of Paro sending forth the people. So what must they do? The children shall come into the midst of the sea. Betoch hayam. They've got to go into the midst of the sea. Bayabasha. On the dry land. And then they could recognize and understand and appreciate that sea, dry land. Right? It's all an illusion. It's all this tapestry that God presents. But it has no power, it has no reality in and of itself. By doing this, we are now balancing, we are now depositing into our account, we are now showing ourselves becoming worthy of this, of the miracles that had happened and is about to happen. And we are eradicating that Egypt, that false worldview where we look on the surface and believe that is actually what is affecting things, and we can see past that. Yes, Janet?
But it's, well, I apologize for the Bible. It says, and they were very frightened. Certainly, if you have this sense of that you're not all whole, maybe you think that Egypt Hashem won't fully be with you. I mean, if you're very frightened and you know that there's this spiritual glitch also still with you, wouldn't you doubly call out to Hashem to help you with that?
But at this point, we needed more than calling out. We needed to conquer that Mitzrayim that was Noseah Acharehem.
To me, that they're frightened. They're at least having some awareness that not everything is.
Okay, and that's why at that point, what we needed was the B'toch Hayam v'Yabasha, entering the sea and the dry land. Yes, Dov, and then Yafi.
Normally, you don't put yourself in danger.
Correct.
Here Hashem says, in order to merit
Correct.
my help,
Correct.
I
You've
want
got
you
to.
put yourself
You've got
in
to.
danger.
You've got to see that there is no reality besides that which I tell, that which I create and recreate every moment. Yafi.
So we talked about it yesterday with Uzi, that it was the time for no more prayers and crying. It was the time of miracle and faith. but still they had this not fully acknowledging that, you know, that something big is going to happen. And after the splitting of the sea and Bnei Israel was already on the other side, one of the commentators is saying that God just put all the Egyptian bodies on the other side of the sea for Bnei Israel to fully see that the Egyptians are gone, and that's why it's not Yetziat Mitzrayim, it's Yetziat Mitzrayim, because only then the Mitzrayim left.
Very nice.
Left
Very
completely.
nice. Very nice.
Bnei Israel.
This is
So.
nice.
Let's take a look.
Rabbi.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that at the Red Sea, the sea was an illusion, and actually everything is illusion. He was leading them into reality. So the splitting of the sea and passing through the sea is a way of washing away their fears.
Yeah.
Because at that point, they had to wash away their fears.
Correct. Correct. So let's go now to page 374. Az, the very bottom there. This is the famous Az Yashir, which is part of our daily davening. Az Yashir Moshe, Uvnei Yisrael et Hashira Hazot LaHashem.
We had to learn it by
Right? Then Moshe sang, and Yisrael sang this song to Hashem. Vayomru, and they said Lemor, saying, Ashira LaHashem, we will sing out to God. Ki ga'o ga'a, sus v'rochvo ramavayam. Ki ga'o ga'a, he is exalted above the arrogant. The horse and its rider he threw into the sea. Aziv zimrat ka vayhi li shua. Right? The might, Oz, like Uzi. Vizimrat ka, and the song to Hashem. Vayhi li shua, and he was for me a salvation. Ze keli va'anvehu. This is my God. Va'anvehu, and I will honor him. I will build him. Different explanations. Elokei avi, the God of my father. Va'aromemenu, and I will exalt him. Now, a couple of things to point out. Az Yashir, Moshe. Then Moshe Ubnei Yisrael sang. Right? Az, I remember when one of my kids were young, and he would tell a story, and he would write a story. It would be Va'az, and then, right? And then. And I said to him, you don't have to keep saying and then. You just tell the story without the and then, right? And we'll understand what's being said, and it'll flow a little bit better, right? Az, right? Then, Yashir Moshe B'nai Yisrael. Moshe B'nai Yisrael sang. What would have been missing had we said the Yashir Moshe, right? Now, another issue, Yashir. The Gemara asks, where do we see in the Torah a remez, a hint towards Tchiyat HaMeitim? Tchiyat HaMeitim is the revival, the resuscitation of those who have died, which is the ultimate period of the end of the Messianic period. Where do we see a hint to that? So the Gemara gives a number of hints. One of them, I believe, is Yashir. Rashi says that, right? Yashir. They will sing. Right? Rashi mentioned it also? I don't know if you mentioned it over here or not. Okay. Now, Yashir means they will sing.
מכאן רמז לתחיית המתים.
Yeah, Rashi says over here. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Right? So Yashir, they will sing. Right?
Where is it? It says chose to sing.
Yes, that's how the English translated. But Yashir is and that's how Rashi explains in his first explanation. Amalo b'libo Yashir. Right? The English translates it. There's a strangeness here. Now the English needs to choose which way they're going to go with it. So they chose that the English decided to give the explanation. He chose to sing. But Yashir right? Right? Hu yashir means he will sing.
Who is
He.
The people.
Well, that's the question.
Okay.
Az yashir Moshe, then Moshe will sing, is actually a very tight grammatic definition of the words. Yashir Moshe, Moshe will sing. So for some reason, we have an allusion here to this messianic time. On page 376, the pasuk said, Zeh Keli Van Vehu. When it says Zeh, we understand that to mean Zeh, this. They're pointing to something very specific. And again, the sages say that even a maidservant, the simplest person on the sea, saw a prophecy greater than the prophecy of Yechezkel ben Buzi. Who was the prophet Yechezkel? Ezekiel? He is the one who saw he saw the third temple, but most famously he saw what's called the Maaseh Merkava. Literally, we'd say it means the Merkava, the chariot of God. Right? A deep Kabbalistic concept known as the chariot of God, Maaseh Merkava. So on a simple level, we're saying that the simplest person had a prophecy that was beyond the greatest of the prophecies. But for some reason, and there's always a reason, they're choosing specifically the prophecy of Yechezkel. The prophecy of Yechezkel about the Maaseh Merkava, about the Rochev. Rochev is a rider. Okay? And the song was Sus v'rochvo rama vayam. The horse and its rider he flung into the sea. Rashi says something that at first glance seems to be, it sounds a little bit strange. And he says, normally, right, you throw the rider off of the horse. Here, the rider and the horse was thrown into the sea. Right? Normally, you mitkaber alav, you overpower him, and you throw the rider off the horse. Here, the horse and the rider was thrown into the sea.
The great force.
A great force, okay? But again, if we're talking about God, I don't think we'd be necessarily overly impressed that, oh wow, God was strong enough to throw not just the rider, but the horse also. I mean, we've seen earthquakes. I mean, throwing a horse and a rider is not all that overwhelming a show of God's force that we are accentuating that. And let me just go a little bit. And then at the end of the song, on page 380, we have Tikach Miriam Hanavia, Miriam the prophetess, Achot Aharon, the sister of Aharon. And as Rashi explains, we've explained before very beautifully over here, right? Now, right, Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, right? Right? Why not the sister of Moshe, right? She takes et hatof biyadah, she takes the drum in her hand. Vateitzena kol hanashim, all the women went out after her, also with drums and with dancing. Vatalma Miriam responded to them and said, Shiru la Hashem, sing out to Hashem, ki ga'o ga'a, because he is exalted he's arrogant exalted above the arrogant. Sus v'rochvo rama vayam. A horse and its rider they threw into the sea. Now, did she say the entire Shira? Some say that she did. Right? Either way, whether she said the whole thing or she said just this pasuk, we are representing the entire Shira by this pasuk, this verse. So it must be that in this verse is contained the essence of the entire Shira. Now, just very briefly, I think Shira might mention this on Shabbos when she speaks, right? But we say Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, right? There were other prophetesses here. Why are we saying the sister of Aaron? Her prophecy was when she was the sister of Aaron. Because the prophecy was that my parents will have a child, namely Moshe, who will redeem the Jewish people. So her prophecy was when she was the sister of Aaron, and now it's evident in the fact that she's a prophet. Only now is it evident that she, in fact, was a prophet at that time, because I could issue a lot of prophecies. I will not be considered a prophet unless it actually happens, right? Until then, they'll probably just, lock me away. Okay? So, over here is when she became this prophetess, because now it has actually happened. So let's take all of these different points and try to tie them together. The Az Yashir Moshe, then Moshe sang, and let me throw in one more. The Medrash says, Moshe, you sinned with Az. You said, may Az bati el Paro, from the time that I came to Paro, it's gotten worse. Now you will redeem yourself with Az. Okay, so what's the connection between the Az Yashir, the singing now, and the Az complaint that Moshe had when he went to Pharaoh, and it got worse, and the same quota of bricks without having the straw supplied? What's the connection? Why Az at all? And then, your English teacher will tell you, just leave out the and then. Right? Just tell your story without and then. Va'az, va'az, va'az. Yashir. Right? Future tense. A reference to the Messianic times. Tchias HaMeitim. Right? I'll sing to Hashem, Ki Ga'o Ga'ah, you were haughty and haughty, you threw the horse and its rider. And that was again repeated by Miriam. Zeh, this is my God. This prophecy was greater than the prophecy of Yechezkel. So let's go back again. The purpose of this second stage of Yitziat Mitzrayim was Yitziat Mitzrayim. To get, right, what was that commercial? You could take the camel out of the country, you can't take the country out of camel, right, an old cigarette commercial, right? Right? So they took the Jews out of Egypt. Now we need to get the Egypt out of the Jews. That was the Yitziat Mitzrayim. What was that aspect of Egypt that we still had? That we partner with God. It's not God completely running the show. We can affect things. We could ask who's going. This you can do. These people you can take. These you can't. These people and these people, but not that. Right? That we are the balabatim over here. Masa Merkava, which is this chariot, the chariot, Rochev. When there is a rider, when there's a rider on the horse, who is in absolute control?
The rider.
The rider is. Right? It might look like the horse is doing a lot of stuff, but who is in control? The rider is in control. There's Maaseh Bereshit, there's the act of creation, and there's Maaseh Merkava. Bereshit is God created. Very good. Now, I create certain things, and then I built that, I didn't, but let's say I built that bookcase, right? And now it's on its own. Let's see what happens with it. Merkava is a different approach. It's a different relationship. It's that I am riding it. I am steering it. I am in absolute control of it. Ashira la Hashem. I will call out to Hashem, Ki Ga'o Ga'a. Right? It was translated, God is exalted over the haughty. Ga'o Ga'a. Normally, if I'm a king and I conquer, I am Ga'o, I am now haughty, arrogant, and I've taken away your arrogance. It's clear to you that you are now subjugated to me. Ga'o Ga'a means I'm an absolute Ga'a, exalted, in control of you while you are still Ga'ah. Sorry, Brahma. While you think that you are in control, actually, you're not. Actually, you're not you have no control whatsoever. So the song to God was Ki Ga'o Ga'ah. That God, you are exalted over the person who still is strutting around in his exalted, arrogant manner, thinking that he's in control. We now recognize Ki Ga'o Ga'ah. You are exalted over the person who still holds of himself that he is or she is exalted. Sus v'rochvo Rama Vayam. The horse and its rider. Rashi said, "Oh, normally I throw the rider off the horse. Here, I threw the rider and the horse." If I throw you off the horse, what does that show? At that point, you've got no control over the situation. Sus virochvo. If I throw you and your horse into the sea, what does that represent?
That you never had control over the horse even.
But while you thought you were in control of the horse, right? You thought you were in control of the horse, and now you realize that you don't control yourself, you don't control the horse, you don't control anything. If I throw you off, you were in control and now you've lost control. Sus v'rochvo, the horse and its rider, shows that my control over you is while you think you are under control. As you think that you are in charge of what's going on, in fact, Ga'o Ga'ah, you had your Ga'ah. While you have your Ga'ah, Ga'o, God is exalted above that. While you're riding on the horse, and with all of your delusions about your control, about your power, about that which you affect, Sus v'rochvo Rama Vayam. This became so clearly that we said, Zeh Keli va'anvehu. This is my God. They had this vision of God, this prophetic understanding that was greater than the prophecy of who? Of Yechezkel. Specifically of Yechezkel. Yechezkel is the one who witnessed the Masa Merkava, who saw that chariot of God. And that's the vision they had, this absolute control. This was the Mitzrayim they needed to eradicate. That is what they were able to experience over here. Yes, Dov?
The normal world, the horse throws off the rider.
Correct.
So here you're going
Correct.
completely out of nature.
Okay. Az Yashir Moshe. Az. So I believe the Kliyaka, one of the Farshim say, Az is 2 letters. Aleph, Zayin. 1 and 7. What does 7 represent?
Shabbos, world's creation.
The world, the 7 days of creation, right? 7 represents the world around us, all that we see around us, the illusion, I-L-L-U, the illusion of this world and all the teva, all the natural workings and dealings of this world. That's what Zion represents. Aleph, Zion, is the Aleph over the Zion. The one that is over the 7. They reach this understanding of Az. Aleph, God, one, in absolute control, Maseh Merkava, riding over the Zion, over the 7 days of creation, over the creation, over all that's been created, over all that appears to be acting and doing and affecting. Az Yashir. Az. Aleph over the Zion. Yashir. That we said was an allusion, A-L-L-U, an allusion to Tchiat HaMeitim, to the time, the ultimate, the zenith, right, the height of the Messianic times. What do we say at the end of Aleinu? The Nemar V'Yasham Lemelech Al Kol Haaretz Bayom Hahu Yihyeh Hashem Echad. God will be the king over all the land. At that time, God will be one, and His name will be one. Meaning, right now, when something good happens, we say, "Oh, Baruch Hatov V'Hametiv." Blessed is the one who is good and who does good. When tragedy strikes, what do we say? Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Blessed is the true judge. So we have different names for God in this world because we see things very differently. In this confused world, we don't see things for what they truly are. So we struggle with this sus v'rochvo, with this golga'ah. We struggle with this maseh merkava. We struggle with everything being God's acts because we see things that we in no way can understand and accept how that is good. But ultimately, Bayom Ahu Yiyeh Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad. Ultimately, He will be one, His name will be one. We will see how it is all God's kindness. It is all God's goodness. So this stage that they reached by the Az Yashir, that is exactly the stage that we will ultimately reach at its peak at the end of the Messianic times. So this issue that we are now singing about, that is something that will reach its completion, Yashir, Remez L'Tchiat HaMeitim. This is the allusion to the hint towards that Messianic time period when there will be this absolute clarity. And the Medrash had said, Moshe sinned with Az, with the word Az. He said to God, May Az bati al Paro, from the time that I've come to Paro, Heira la'am hazeh, it's gotten worse. Now he is correcting that with Az Yashir. What does that mean? What was Moshe's complaint? Moshe knew that God was going to ultimately take the children of Israel out of Egypt. He had told them that already. Moshe wanted to be the instrument through which good would come about. That's what he signed up for. That's the role he thought he was going to play. And now, God, you've made me the instrument for bad things to happen. You've made me the instrument not to improve their situation, but to worsen their situation. Because of me, their situation has deteriorated. Me'az bati, from the time I come to Paro, heira la'am hazeh, it's gotten worse. So God, you've used me as the instrument to do bad instead of doing good. Az Yashir Moshe. Now Moshe and even Moshe and Bnei Yisroel have reached this point that they recognize. They got this glimpse of that messianic times when we'll see B'yom Hu Hashem Echad Shmo Echad, God's name will be one, the name of kindness. They got the glimpse, and he understands now that which I thought which was making it worse, it didn't make it worse. There is no such thing as worse. This was all part of the master plan, which is all good. How could that be good? That's the Maaseh Merkava. That's the belief. That's the Mitzrayim that's still in us. That we all need to work on, to not be fooled by the obfuscation, not be fooled by that which appears, and to see through that and the Maaseh Merkava. That was the Az Yashir Moshe. So Az is Aleph 1 over the Zayin, recognizing not the Azbati Heira that's gotten worse. No, every part of it is Bayom Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad. Everything is that Racham of Hashem. Yashir, that is a taste of Yashir, of the song that we will sing. When we recognize Ga'o Ga'ah, he exalted as the person thinks he's exalted, God is exalted. Sus v'rochvo, right? The horse and its rider. As the person thinks he's in control, actually, there is one master that is in control. Zeh, that vision was a Maaseh Merkava, the rider, so to speak, vision that was beyond anything else we had seen before. And that's why Miriam, when she joined in with just that pasuk, either again just that pasuk, or this is the pasuk that represents the whole idea. Shiru Hashem, sing out to Hashem, ki ga'o ga'ah, sus v'chora rama vayam. A shira is a song of that symmetry, and we could recognize the whole picture and view and appreciate that whole picture. And this was the time for the shira. Not earlier on, when we were still in physical danger, but even more importantly perhaps, when we still felt that we were still lacking that appreciation of the perfect symmetry, then we cannot offer a song, cannot offer a shira.
So Moshe is the Wizard of Oz.
Rabbi, it's the same now. We're not in control of our lives at all. We think we're in control, but we're not.
That's the Mitzrayim that we struggle with every day, every moment.
Yes.
Not every day, but every moment. Yes.
And that's why learning character traits would be so important, so that you can recognize how to behave, and maybe help yourself at least.
Yes, we are working on that.
Are we?
We're going to try to get that going. Yes, Janet.
So you can know that intellectually and be pretty reconciled to it, but when you have
100%.
sad things or
100%.
you could still say it's beyond me and
100%.
incomprehensible and
yes.
And still wonder.
Yes, 100%. And I try to train myself that when I hear about a very sad thing, and my reaction is to say, oh, that's terrible, that's horrible, I try to train myself to not say that, to say, that is so sad, that is so tragic, that is so sad, right? But not to say that is so horrible, that's so terrible.
But you never wonder,
Of course.
What's Hashem doing here?
Oh.
But it's not us too. It's not
right.
us.
I don't know of a thinking person who doesn't wonder. Right? I don't know of a thinking person who doesn't wonder. That is the human condition and state that we're in this non-messianic world, right? And we do wonder, right? But if we could wonder and accept, right, as opposed to being angry, right? And sadness is fine. Sadness is fine, right? But without feeling that anger.
We should say, why do we ask why?
Okay.
How can you not sometimes?
Yeah.
Why do we ask?
One of the important lessons I learned is
Hashem does
Dove,
this. Why
if you can, I say, the YouTube only for an hour, so if you could.